Good morning, Villa fans, and welcome to a special kind of talk, I suppose. 4 games to go of the Premier League season, 12 points up for grabs. So just wanted to talk about what the 12-point plan is, basically. We are now looking like we probably need to win all 4 games to stand a chance of a top 5 finish, which would secure Champions League football, which is obviously something that we want to achieve, and we want to be back in that competition next year after, getting to the quarterfinals this year and performing really well, finishing in the top 8 of the Champions League new format as well. And, what some great nights it's provided to us, the Bayern Munich game, Juventus, obviously PSG, unbelievable occasions and memories. We want to be able to achieve that again next season. We need to put behind us the disappointment of Wembley and the defeat to Crystal Palace, and need to fully focus on these last 4 games and what the 12-point plan is. And that's why I've sort of titled this video 4 games to go, the 12-point plan. So I want to look ahead at sort of the 4 games that are coming up, have a look at the opposition, have a look at their sort of danger men, have a look at how we could be lining up against these teams in the last 4 games and which players and personnel that we should be playing. Obviously, looks like Marcus Rashford is now out for probably the rest of the season. Obviously, he can't play against Man United in the last game. It's a hamstring injury, apparently, which does take a number of weeks to heal. So potentially could make the Tottenham game. But, let's see what happens there. But not looking very likely that we'll see Marcus Rashford in an Aston Villa shirt again. I don't feel confident that his loan deal will be made permanent. I don't think it's the £40 million fee. I would pay that for him. But obviously it comes down to the wages that he's on. And it's probably what the best part of 325,000 and the rest a week. And I just can't see us getting anywhere near that, not even half of that really, to sort of entice him to come to Villa. I think he's done well at Villa. It's been a successful loan. He's got a number of assists and a number of goals, managed to get back into the England squad, managed to get the pundits and everyone back on his kind of side a little bit. But I think he'll either go back to Manchester United and try to win a place back there and try to win Amorim back over, or he gets moved on to the likes of a Barcelona, who are probably looking at someone that's going to replace someone like Lewandowski, obviously getting on in age. Maybe a Bayern Munich come in for him, maybe reunite Harry Kane and Rashford together in Germany. PSG seem to be going sort of down the younger model at the moment, so I can't see PSG coming in for him because there has been rumours about that. But I don't see him sticking around at Villa for next season, which is a shame because, I'd absolutely take him. But it's the wages. He's not going to take a 50% salary drop, is he really, to come to us? So, these lineups that I'll give you just now are obviously without Marcus Rashford in mind, because it doesn't look like he's going to be around for the foreseeable for us, basically. So diving straight into it, obviously, we've got Saturday coming. We've got a lunchtime kickoff, 12:30 against Fulham at Villa Park. For me, obviously, all of these games are must win, but this is Fulham who are chasing us. They're 7th position, so 1 place below. I think they're 6 points below us. So, if they do come to Villa Park and manage to get a win, then they're right up among, right in the race again for sort of European hunt. So we need to dampen that sort of spirit, and we need to see Fulham off, basically. If we're looking at the lineup of Fulham, they've got some danger players. Absolutely, they have. That's why they sat in 7th position. I think they've got a really good manager in Marco Silva. I think, he's someone that the likes of Man United or even Tottenham Hotspur should be looking at as a potential manager coming in. He's done what he's done at Fulham with sort of limited resources is admirable. I would. He's good, basically. He's done well. He's impressed. They've got dangerous players available. I think I do like the left back they've got, Anthony Robinson. I think he's American international. He's up and down. He's probably one of the most progressive left backs in the league. Lots of pace, likes to get forward, good quality when he does get forward as well. He was missing from their last game. So I'm not sure what's going on there, sort of injury-wise and things like that, but he wasn't playing. If he is back for this, he is always a danger from that left-hand side. They've also got Alex Iwobi as well, who's really good friends with Amadou Onana. off the pitch. I think they both sort of rap and sort of produce music together. He's always been a threat against us, even though I personally don't kind of rate him. I wouldn't want to see him at Villa, for example, but he always seems to sort of show up against Villa and have a good little game. Willian has been bought back in by Fulham on a free transfer. You know, the guy is like Benjamin Button, doesn't age. He seems to have good quality on the ball. I do like that he's very calm on the ball. So again, he's someone that could prove to be a danger, and he's back in their starting lineup now on a regular basis. So even though he's getting on an age, he still has the quality and the ability to be dangerous, basically. And then you've got the striker, Raul Jimenez, who I remember sort of bullying Pau Torres, maybe in the reverse fixture, or was it last season, and sort of scoring a goal for them, sort of holding off Pau Torres and scoring. They've got Munoz as well as another option up front, who's again a physical type of striker as well. And I think we need to look at that. We need to learn the lessons of Crystal Palace and Jean-Philippe Mateta and how physical he was against sort of Pau Torres. And I think for this game against Fulham, my starting lineup for this, I think what we need to do is obviously Emi Martinez is going to be in goal for every game, regardless. I know he's not, hasn't covered himself in glory in the last few games. There's been a couple of errors here and there, a couple of shots that maybe he could have done better with. Man City comes to mind. Obviously, the Eze strike, the Sarr strike from long range. Could he have done better with those? But I think Emi Martinez picks himself in goal for the remainder of the season, absolutely. And Robin Olsen's obviously going back to Malmo now, and we'll be looking at bringing in a backup goalkeeper. Don't know who that's going to be. We've been linked with a Spanish Espanyol goalkeeper at 25 million, but I can't see that happening. We're not going to spend 25 million on a backup. That's just ridiculous. So yeah, I think we'll have to go. Matty Cash has come under a lot of scrutiny in sort of the last few podcasts, last few days for his performance against Palace, and especially for me as well. I personally don't think he's good enough for us for next season. But for right here, right now, and what we've got available for the next 4 games, you've got to play the experienced players. I mean, I want to balance out the fullbacks. If Matty Cash is playing on the right back and he's not great getting forward, then I want to see Ian Maatsen on the left-hand side, who can give you a bit of attacking threat on the opposite side, and vice versa. Sometimes we might have to play Andres Garcia on the right back, who's better at getting forward, and then maybe Coutinho on the left-hand side, who's a bit more maybe defensively stronger than Ian Maatsen. So it's about balancing that out and sort of having one fullback who is comfortable attacking. So for this one, it's Matty Cash right back against Fulham, just because of Anthony Robinson and maybe Iwobi sort of doubling up on that left-hand side. I just want to see a bit of stability. And Matty Cash, he is a good defender when it comes to defending one-on-one. He is good at that. He's not very good getting forward and supporting and getting in the final third, but give him his due, and what he is good at is that one-on-one defending. So that's why I would go Matty Cash right back. Ezri Konsa, centre back, picking himself. I think he's in all of my lineups in this. So Ezri Konsa, 4 games, he'll play the last 4. Tyrone Mings. I want to see a recall for Tyrone Mings into the starting lineup, especially for this game when you're up against Jimenez, who's not going to run away from you, but he's going to prove a physical challenge. And then you got that Rodriguez Munoz as well, who's again quite a physical player. I think Tyrone Mings is the player for this game against Fulham. We need him at the back. I think we need his height as well, from their sort of set pieces and everything as well, organisation, his leadership, need his voice on the pitch, which we've been missing so many times. And then, Ian Maatsen at left back for me to be that progressive one on the opposite side to sort of, ensure that Willian doesn't get forward and their right back doesn't get forward. I think it's Kenny Tete. I think Maatsen would have better of him. And then further forward from that, I'm going to go defensive midfield players, Amadou Onana and Jean McGinn for this. I'm giving Boubacar Kamara and Tielemans a well-needed rest and recovery time from the bench, perhaps, of course. But I think Amadou Onana for this one, his physique, his strength, his aerial ability, he can play along in there. And I would play John McGinn alongside him, sort of buzzing around, being that left foot option, getting it out to Ian Maatsen on the left-hand side. So that would be my defensive 2. Ahead of that, and this is the important area and what I talked about in my previous video, is that we need to make sure that these 3 players offer different qualities. Can't have players who can play narrow and tucked in and no width. We need width and pace. So for me, you've either got to play Donyell Marlon or Leon Bailey. from the right-hand side, because obviously there's no Marcus Rashford now to play on that left. And then the other two positions can be a rotation of Morgan Rogers, Jacob Ramsey, Asensio. You can throw McGinn in there as well. You can put someone like, so those sorts of players basically is a rotation of those sorts of players. So for this one, I've gone Duo Maatsen on the right-hand side. I think him and Cash could link up well there. He would give you an attacking output on the right-hand side, whereas Cash could sort of stay back a little bit. Morgan Rogers back into the number 10 position behind the striker. And then on the left-hand side, I think Jacob Ramsey's had some good performances against Fulham. Just from memory, I think he's had some good games there. So I think Jacob Ramsey to start this one, which means Asensio on the bench. Didn't cover himself in glory at Wembley. I gave him a 1 out of 10. He was a bit of a ghost. I think he needs to earn his way back into the team. And I heard somebody saying that, he started really well, Asensio, absolutely on fire, with goals and assists and everything. But just recently, he's come off the boil. And, it's just giving me a little bit of Coutinho vibes. I hope not, and I'm sure it won't. But at the moment, if you're looking at 200 grand a week, which is what he's currently on at PSG, we're going to have to pay him that sort of money. Does he get into our strongest 11? That's a lot of money to have for a player sat on the bench. So, Asensio's got these last 4 games to really make an impact from the bench or when he can start. But for me, for this one, from the bench against Fulham. So, Duo Maatsen, Morgan Rogers, Jacob Ramsey, and then it's Ollie Watkins up front. Because, again, no Marcus Rashford. No other option there, really, unless you put Duo Maatsen up front, perhaps as well. And there will be times where that could happen. But for this one, Ollie Watkins up front, I think he's got a good record against Fulham as well. And he just needs one more goal to break Gabby's record. So that would be the lineup I would go for against Fulham. Next game is against Bournemouth away. They're in 10th position at the moment. Evan Nielsen picked up a red card against Man United in their 1-1 draw. United scoring in the 96th minute. So I think that must mean a suspension for him. So, without Evan Nielsen up front, they're really struggling for bodies. And it looks like someone like Daniel Jebison, their youngster, might be thrown in up front unless they play a false 9 and go with Katara up front or someone else. But he's suspended, I think. The danger players for them are obviously Semenyo, who is a player that I really like. Wouldn't mind to see him at Villa. I think he's a really talented footballer. They've got Milos Kerkez as a left-back, Hungarian guy who I think is going to be moving on to a bigger team. Wouldn't surprise me if someone like Liverpool came in for him. He looks like a really, really good player, getting up and down, and he's on that left-hand side. And then you've got Justin Kluivert, who seems to have picked up his career again, playing in the sort of the pocket, able to roam, consistently scoring penalties as well. Just a danger player for them. So those are the 3 that I pointed out: Semenyo, Kerkez, and Kluivert for them. And for this game, it's obviously been a bit of a narrow pitch at the Vitality as well. A small crowd, I think it's 11,000 capacity there. So we need to keep it sort of quiet and keep it. We need to use the space out wide, the little space there is, but we need to use it as well. So I think for this game, obviously Martinez in goal. We're going Matty Cash at right back again because of Kerkez getting forward on that left-hand side. We need someone who's defensively sound. And as I said, if Matty Cash plays on the right-hand side, Ian Maatsen plays on the left. So that's what I'm doing here as well. Centre-back stay the same. Ezri Konsa, Tyrone Mings. And then I'm recalling Boubacar Kamara and Yuri Tielemans as the CDMs for this one. So hopefully they'll be sort of well rested, maybe coming on against Fulham for the last 10, 15 minutes or so to see out the game. But Boubacar Kamara, Yuri Tielemans come back into the starting lineup. The 3 in front of that, as I said, it's a rotation between Duo Maatsen and Leon Bailey from the right-hand side. And for this game, I'm going with Leon Bailey. I just remember him, again, having good games against Bournemouth. I'm not sure why. I think he might have scored once or twice there. So Leon Bailey, if he can give us that same performance like he did against Palace here, then that's what we're looking for. So, and Bournemouth play, I think it's Adam Smith as a right back who doesn't like to venture forward too much. He is your stay back at home right back. So I think having Leon Bailey there to help. And also help sort of pin sort of Kerkez back as well, and then on the left-hand side, I'm going John McGinn to sort of go up against Adam Smith, who I think he would be able to get the better of. But John McGinn playing that tucked-in role. So not playing as a winger on the left-hand side, but tucked in from the left-hand side. And then Morgan Rogers, again, in the 10. So this is Jacob Ramsey coming out of the lineup for this one. And Ollie Watkins up front. for me for this one against Bournemouth again. I think, Watkins has scored. I think you remember him scoring a header. I think it was last season against these guys. So I want to see Ollie Watkins back amongst the goals for this one. And this is probably the game where he does get that goal that beats Gabby's record. And then we've got Spurs coming up as well. And they're sat in 16th position. Ange Postecoglou under a lot of pressure there. They've obviously got Europa League football going on as well. And I think, they could be making the final. So will their heads be elsewhere, and will they be resting players for this game with that trophy up for grabs perhaps? So it's almost like you want them to get to the final, so they really take the eye off the ball here at Villa Park in this last home game of the season. But Spurs have always proved a problem for us. Even though they might have a rubbish set of results coming into the game, the players that they have, they've got James Maddison, who always kind of steps up against us, plays really well. He's always a danger player for them. Dominic Solanke, again, another danger player for them. And then I like Kulusevski as well, Dejan Kulusevski for them, who's great on the ball. But yeah, defensively, they look very poor. They've been hit by injuries, never sort of played a consistent team, always chopping and changing. But for this game, I'm going to go Emi Martinez in goal. Right back, I'm just changing this up slightly. So for this one, I'm going for Andres Garcia on the right-hand side. Just fancy getting a bit more attacking on the right-hand side here, giving sort of Matty Cash a bit of a breather. On the left-hand side, now I've always said, look, playing Andres Garcia, you need Coutinho in there. Perhaps it's right. Perhaps Coutinho could come in for this one, and we'll see how we kind of get on that side. Maatsen from the bench, perhaps, and giving us some energy in the second half. Centre backs, obviously playing up against someone like Solanke, who's going to pin you back, who's going to be physical. Tyrone Mings needs to play alongside Ezri Konsa for me. So Pau Torres sits this one out again. And then the CDMs, Boubacar Kamara, Yuri Tielemans, bringing those two back together again. I remember playing Spurs in the FA Cup, and we dominated that game. Absolutely dominated them, chance after chance after chance. So I want to see a similar performance of that. So I think I'm playing the similar players to that as well. So ahead of that, and the three behind Ollie Watkins is going to be Duo Maatsen from the right to offer the pace and the width. Morgan Rogers, who kind of destroyed them in the FA Cup game. And then Jacob Ramsey, who got that early goal as well against them in the FA Cup. And again, destroyed them with, those late runs, third man runs into the box. I think he had like one or two one-on-ones that he should have scored as well. So Jacob Ramsey up on the left, Morgan Rogers in the 10, Duo Maatsen from the right. And then up front, Ollie Watkins, as I said there as well. So I think, that's a winnable game. I think Spurs, the manager looks like he could be on the way out if they get knocked out of Europe, if they don't win that trophy. So a lot of pressure on them. So, I hope they make the final, just so they take the eye off the ball here, and we can pick up the points and take advantage of that situation. And then the last game of the season is Manchester United at Old Trafford. United have had a tough season, 14th position they're sat in at the moment. But, United are United. And, we've always kind of struggled against Man United. It's just been this almost like a bogey team like Crystal Palace that seemed to, produce the goods. I remember years gone by, we were dominating the game, and then McTominay just shows up with a last gasp goal, or you've got Bruno Fernandes doing something, Garnacho, or, they've got injuries. Their team is all over the place at the moment. They just lost recently as well. They drew to Bournemouth in the last game, 96th minute equaliser from Højlund. Before that, I think defeat to Wolverhampton Wanderers, and then that unbelievable game against Lyon as well. So they've had a real mixed bag in the last sort of few games there. But Bruno Fernandes, obviously a danger. We know all about him. He is, their playmaker and their danger man, and at Old Trafford, he seems to come alive there. Garnacho, who's been inconsistent, but always a threat. I'm glad that Ahmad's not playing and he's injured and out for the season, but Garnacho is a player that can turn it on. And I think he will prove problems for Villa. And then you've got Harry Maguire, the centre-back, up from the set pieces. That's always a danger. He's better with his head than he is with his foot. You've got Emi Martinez in goal for this one. I'm giving a recall to Matty Cash purely because of the Garnacho factor. I want Matty Cash to be one against him. Konsa, and then I think a recall for Pau Torres here, because I don't think Man United are going to press us too much. I think we will be able to play through the lines. So I think Pau Torres to come in for this one instead of Tyrone Mings, who played the last three. And then Ian Maatsen as the left back option to sort of get forward. So, coming back in, replacing Coutinho for this one at Old Trafford. Amadou Onana, physicality, height to combat Harry Maguire, to combat Lenny Yoro, Mazarawi. They do have players who are big from set pieces that we need to be wary of, and that's where their danger is, that set pieces. So I think Amadou Onana coming in alongside Boubacar Kamara here as two CDMs for me. And then ahead of that, I'm putting Yuri Tielemans in the 10. So just playing ahead of those two there. And then going with Leon Bailey from the right-hand side. So a recall for Leon Bailey coming in Old Trafford. And then from the right-hand side, tucked in, I'm going with Morgan Rogers. So, Rogers is still playing all the games. Whether he sees out all the games, I don't know. But him and Asensio could be rotated. So you haven't seen Asensio's name once in the starting lineup here in these last 4 games for me. But I do think he still will be heavily involved from the bench. So if things aren't going to plan with either Morgan Rogers or Jacob Ramsey in that tucked-in position or number 10 position, then you've got Asensio that you can bring on maybe after 60, 65 minutes, who can then sort of change the game. You've got Leon Bailey that can come on for Duo Maatsen and vice versa if it's not working there. Ollie Watkins, obviously, he's starting every single game here. If he's struggling with a knock or an injury or not getting involved in the game, there's a Duo Maatsen that can play up front and offer something a little bit different. So there are options going into these last 4 games. We've got plenty left in the squad in terms of numbers. Having to mention Ross Barkley, who I thought played well against Crystal Palace when he came on, but there will be times where he comes off the bench and helps us to see out certain games, I'm sure. Whether he's ready to start games, I don't think so. I think Tyrone Mings needs to be that leader back in this team. He's got 3 starts here for me, and then has a little rest in the last game against at Old Trafford. But I think, Yuri Tielemans, he's coming in to be pivotal. I think he'll have a rest against Fulham, I think. Don't think we need him as much at Fulham, but, let's see. But Morgan Rogers is the big player as well for us, and we need to manage his sort of minutes. He looks like he's really, really, I wouldn't say struggling, but, burning out. He looks tired. So, these are games where he can start and impact it and have a fast start. And that's important to all of these games, that we go into these games with an attacking mindset, because we have to win. We can't settle for draws. We can't build slow into the game, slow tempo. It needs to be a fast start. It needs to be a Newcastle type start. It needs to be that sort of thing. It needs to be second half of PSG from the go. It needs to be that level. If we can do that, we can win these last 4 games. I think if you look at Bournemouth, there is probably the most toughest game for me away against Bournemouth. They've got Evan Nilsson suspended. We've got Watch Semenyo, Kirkes and Kluivert, of course, but Evan Nilsson, who's their record signing, I think, and their danger man up front, he's suspended. So if ever you needed encouragement to go out on the front foot against Bournemouth away, there it is. Spurs and Man United are in European competition. One eye on European competition, who's going to be playing at 100% in these games if they've got a European Cup final to look forward to. Does anyone want to get injured for that and miss that game? You bet your ass they don't. So you can guarantee that Bruno will probably be playing at 50%, and Maddison and Solanke the same. So that's why I want those two to get to the final. I don't give a shit who wins it, to be fair, out of those two. But as long as they both take their eye off the ball, and Spurs have already requested to move the game, and Villa have refused it. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of happens over these next 4 games. But this is my prediction, and I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say we will get 12 points, and I'm going to say we will secure 5th place. Just about. I think we just about will. There are other games that are going on where teams are playing against each other, where they'll take points off each other. And the likes of Nottingham Forest, I think, might just drop. Chelsea have got a tough last 4 games as well, if you look at their fixtures. So I think those two might be the ones that kind of struggle a little bit, and Villa could capitalise. But we need to make sure that we don't have a Wembley hangover and just get into the Fulham game, fast start, go at them, play this lineup, play the Maatsen, play the Malen. Let's get some width into our play. Let's get some tempo into our play. And I think that we can pick up 12 points. But this is my 12-point master plan. Unai Emery, if you're listening, let me know what you think. Anyway, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are on the last 4 games. What are your sort of score predictions for those? I'll do match previews for each of these games, which will, I'll give my match preview and scoreline. And who knows, there might be injuries that happen during these games, which changes the lineups and things like that. So and the personnel. So yeah, but like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. How many points are we going to get in the last 4 games? Are we getting 12 out of 12? Are we going to get 9? Are we going to get 2? I mean, let me know what your thoughts are on our points total in the last 4 games, where we're going to end up this season. Will Ollie Watkins break Gabby's record? I think so. In the last 4 games, I think he just needs 1 more goal. I think he'll do it. So yeah, let me know. Asensio, yay or nay? Do we sign him on a permanent? I've got my doubts about it, again, purely because of the wage issue. And, are there better options out there? More value for money? Asensio, what is he, 29? 200 grand a week, 3-4 year contract. Are we going to potentially put ourselves into another Philip Coutinho situation? So, yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. I don't want to ramble on too much more. Hope you like the video. Like, subscribe, and comment. Let's get some chat going on this one. And until the next one, up the mighty Villa. Bye for now.